welcome to episode 41 of the Boot Nerds podcast. Jay, you're back. What's going on?
I'm back. I've been in Ghana, which is, well, you can't tell because I'm still super white, but that's how it goes. And hey, you got the episode number right this time.
I did. So if you're not following, we technically missed episode 40, but it was the last episode. Yeah. I just called it 39.
But we had two episode 39, so that's awesome. How are you, my man?
I am doing quite good. As you can see, I am slowly filling the wall back up, but I've also been a little bit too lazy to bring everything down and organize things, which is not that surprising, but good otherwise.
It's gonna be a long day when you finally decide to go get some friends over, and they'll give you all these weird looks. And why do you have so many boots, mama? I get that all the time.
Yeah, it's a weird situation for sure. You should have seen all the people just walking through the house, just seeing all the boxes and boots just everywhere, and they're like, "What's wrong with this guy?"
Especially when you're recording and they're just walking by and you're sat there in front of all of your boots talking to a camera. That's yeah. Must look weird.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of people there's a very weird person that lives in that house.
Yeah. I mean, we are weird. We're also nerds. This is what it's all about because we are boot nerds. Today we're going to talk about something very awesome because finally, the NikeID Nike by You boots that we made have arrived. So we're going to talk about those. We're going to show them to you and tell the whole story around them because there is a pretty funny, slightly tragic story around it as well. But before we get started, if you have any questions for us that you want us to answer in a future episode, you can leave them in the comment section right down below. And then, of course, also don't forget to slap a like on the video if you enjoy the content. And if you haven't subscribed already, you should go and click that button. All right. And now, but Josh, tell you what happened here, right? So I think it's like 2 months plus since we made and ordered the Nike by You Mercurial boots, and we've both been really excited. I've had some setbacks in the process of getting my boots. You know a little bit of the story, so I think a week and a half maybe after we've ordered, I get this email from Nike that my order has been cancelled. And I think, right, that sucks because now my boots are going to be delayed. I have to go and order them again. And then I want to go and order them again. And if you remember, I'd made this really cool looking red, gold, and I think it was white. Maybe it was black. Red, gold, and something boot. It was a vapor, and I thought this is going to be awesome. Then I go back, and all the color options are gone. So I can't make a red boot anymore. I can only make it black or white. And I also can't make any vapors. So I can only make a black or white Superfly with a very limited amount of accent colors on top of that. Okay, so I'm super bummed, but I decide, hey, we're gonna make this episode at one point, so I have to get some boots that we can talk about. I can at least share this story. So I go in and I ordered a decent pair of boots. It's black, white swoosh, and then a blue accent color on the heel. Personal writing, JayMike. It all looks good. I'm pretty excited. It's a Superfly, but I can live with it, right? And then I'm in Ghana. I get an email from Nike. This is like a week and a half ago. It arrived on the 15th. I get an email saying that it has arrived at the Unisport warehouse. And I'm like, cool. I'll get it when I get back home. I'm excited to see it. You've had yours for a while now, so we're just waiting for me. And I come back. I reach out to the guys at the warehouse, and they're like, what? What do you mean, Jay? And I'm like, yo, it says right here it's been delivered to the warehouse at this address. Here's the tracking code. I can see it's been signed for, and they're all like, no, that's not us. So there's a process that they have to sign, so you can see who signed for it, and the signature that whoever signed for it did is just like a bunch of stripes, basically. So someone who are not supposed to have my boots, and now they're nowhere to be seen So I don't know where they are. Apparently, they've been delivered, but I don't have it. And it's been 2 months. So I'm devastated, and I would love to show the boots to you guys, but who knows?
We're going to have to just go on eBay every day, and you just search JayMike Edition Superfly, and eventually you'll probably find them.
I mean, why would you want them? It says JayMike on the boot. It's only me who can appreciate that boot. I mean, it's just a long story, and it's one of those where the moment I realized that these boots are gone, man. It just felt like it felt like it had to happen, right? I've been so unlucky in this process. It's taken so long for them to get here. They're finally here, and now UPS lost them. So yes, let's see what happens.
You know what? We should clarify a few things, because I think a lot of people think that we have like major insides with these brands, and they give us anything that we want. I don't know about your situation, but I don't think Nike's a huge fan of me, if I'm being honest.
Why not?
I think we both tried to get some kind of a voucher from Nike to get these Nike IDs that did not work out well at all.
No, same for me.
So we ended up buying these boots, and they took a long time. And I guess we should also clarify why your initial order got canceled. They launched the Nike ID program, and obviously this new generation of Mercurials has been extremely popular. And the way Nike ID works is they offer all these different color options for the uppers, and that's basically like pre-made uppers, and then they're going to attach all the extra bits to it as the boots are kind of made to order. Because we did our orders probably like 2 weeks after Nike ID launched, they basically oversold on the ones that you ordered, which is why your order ended up getting canceled, right? So, I mean, it sucks. It would be nice for Nike to let you know a little bit sooner, but
and the beautiful thing is that then after, I think maybe a week or a week and a half after I've ordered the new boots, the black boots, guess which options are back on Nike ID? Yep, the Vapor and the colors. So yeah, I was a happy camper.
Yeah, so they restocked, but that's how it goes. All that.
So even though I work for Unisport, and obviously we have all these Nike contacts, and they help us with so many things, they can't just magically snap their fingers and a pair of Nike ID boots turn up at my door. It's just out of our hands. So yeah.
I don't know how it is in Denmark though, but I have noticed the few things that I have gotten from Nike over the last couple of months. When it comes from them directly, they have these boxes that are very clearly it's pretty clear that that's a Nike product in the box. They put swooshes all over it now, which I don't think is very smart when it comes to stuff like your boots getting intercepted and potentially stolen. And I just, not to sidetrack here, but the very first point of contact between both of us actually was because of a stolen pair of Mercurials, if you remember correctly. I was going to
get into that, yeah.
Right? So I had coming, I don't know if they were from Nike, I can't remember where they were from, but it was the Off-White Mercurial Vapor 12 when those came out. It's pretty limited, hard to get. And I actually had them, it was prior to the release that I was actually going to get these boots.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to be here tomorrow. And then tomorrow never came. And all of a sudden they're gone, lost in the mail, stolen.
Right. So someone got a pair of Off-Whites early. I remember this, and the craze was insane around these boots. And every man and his dog wanted a pair. And all of a sudden, I get a message from you. And I'm like, what? We'd never spoken before. And it was just like, you were like, yo, this happened, can you help me out? And I was like, sure, I want to help you out. So yeah, your bad luck brought us together, and basically we can thank whoever stole those boot of yours for the Boot Nerds podcast, because otherwise I don't think it would have happened. Yeah,
I'm so looking forward to just seeing the JayMike Superflys just pop up on Instagram one day. I want to see it so bad.
I'm just wondering, like if the guy was there, the guy in the UPS van was there at the warehouse thinking, hey, he might not have been there, but he just sat there with the boots thinking, okay, I'm just gonna keep these in the van in case there's something awesome. But I mean, there's size 40 Superfly that says JayMike on. What's he gonna use them for? So yeah, I'm a bit bitter, but that's how it goes. Hopefully,
they might be worth some. Jay, you're somewhat of a football boot celebrity, bud. You're a world-renowned designer.
That's true.
He has a one-of-one JayMike Superfly.
Also true.
That's what's that worth? $3,000, $4,000?
Let's say at least $1 million.
At least.
I mean, I would compare that to like a Banksy piece or something like that. You know, it just don't happen that often. So, so yeah, that was my story. How was your story? You have your boots, right?
Yes. So, place my order.
Let's just clarify. This is a big moment because, you know, ever since we've seen the mock-up design you've done, I've really been looking forward to this because when you did him, you sounded really excited. And then I saw it and I was like, yeah. So I'm really hoping that it looks better in real life than on the renders.
Well, we did. For those that don't know, we did an episode, and it'll probably be in the little icon in the corner of the screen. You can go watch it. But the idea was that we were going to design them live on the podcast, so you guys could watch and then order them, and it would kind of be a surprise for both of us to see each other's boots. Obviously, we had to edit the podcast, so we ended up seeing what each of us ordered. But going into that episode, I had a totally different idea in my head.
Yeah.
And then
you changed your mind on the spot,
during
right?
the podcast, I just had this brilliant idea that I'm going to do a tribute boot to a famous Nike product made by Joma, and it's the Joma Champion Max. Obviously,
before you show it, which is the best looking boot out of those two?
Honestly, I think the Nikes turned out pretty good. I'm surprised. And I was like, you had a cancellation order because they ran out of inventory. I was kind of half expecting like, hey, we're not making this because what are you doing? I thought, oh man, Nike's going to get mad at me. They're going to find this and I'm going to get like banned from ever ordering Nike ID again. Luckily, that didn't happen. I think the boots took probably like 8 weeks from when I ordered them. It was a while. It took a little while, but they are here.
Okay.
So
exciting.
Nike by you, as you can see. It even
Does
has.
It say Nike? Yeah.
You can see it has your name and the size thing and all that. So it's a new box for Nike ID.
Wow, Joshua.
Yeah, my full
you
name.
Little dancer, you.
Yeah. So drawer style box. First things first. Forget about the boots. It does come with a string bag, which is great, and it's different from the old Nike ID string bag. This one says Nike by you. And then it just has, I think that's supposed to be like a plotted out upper in flat form. I'm assuming that's what that design is supposed to be.
Don't you think it's the plate with the chevron blades?
Oh yeah, it is. You're right.
Yeah,
it definitely is. It's something, whatever it is. Black on the back, black bag, typical Nike string bag. Jay, how would you rate this just out of curiosity?
Probably I would give it a 17.38 and a quarter out of 19.52.
I had the exact same rating. So
yeah, I know.
We'll go with that. And then you get the boots, which I have. I guess just one boot will do.
What?
We don't need two, but
what?
It turned out pretty excellent. So if I put them side by side here, the colors are as close as you could possibly imagine. So we went with a royal blue upper here. And I was a little bit worried that it was going to be too close to the launch colorway, but it's more of a royal blue rather than a sky blue. And it has this weird, almost like circular pattern within the Nike skin covering that the regular ones don't have. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah.
A little bit weird.
Like it has the shimmering effect.
Yeah, it's almost like an American football dimpling or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe that's a terrible description because I don't know much about American football. So Volt yellow as an accent to match, of course, the iconic Joma Champion Max.
Of course.
Went with black laces to match as well. Would have been nice to have been able to do a black collar, but that obviously was not a possibility. But then you'll notice it's a very subtle detail. You can see I went with black branding. It says Merc, but it does in fact have not ACC, but JCC, which is
JCC,
the Joma variation, of course. And then this is the part I was very worried about, because in the podcast that we did making the boots, we noted that there were certain words that were blocked. Like you couldn't put Messi on a pair of Superflys, not allowed. Beckham. Yeah, there was a few things that were not allowed. Luckily, Joma was in fact allowed, and they actually ended up making it. So you can see my boots say Joma and then CM for Champion Max, just to complete the tribute, which is great. And then it does say Nerds on the collar here.
That's a nice little thing.
Kind of a cool little thing. And then the sole plate turned out quite good, being a mixture of the Volt Yellow and black with the split sole. But yeah, I mean, as a whole, I have to say I'm pretty satisfied with how they turned out. I think it's a proper tribute to what is an iconic pair of football boots that were inspired by Nike. So this is a boot inspired by Nike. That was the inspiration for a boot inspired by Nike.
Yeah, that is some proper meta stuff right there. I really like it. That is like the bootception right there. It's pretty good.
Like I mean, I'm sure you get this question a lot too. What's the favorite boot in your collection? And this is pretty proud of this one. I'm still in shock that Nike let this go. Like whoever's
and my boots haven't even what is going on?
I thought for sure Nike's got to have at least one person that's just like skimming through all the designs to make sure nobody makes something that's like not allowed. But apparently that guy's not doing his job.
Someone needs to get fired. Well, someone do need to get fired, but that's a whole other story. Fix my boots, Nike, please. So I think as a tribute, it's actually it's a pretty good job. They look a lot like the Champion Max, and if it had the black color,
it would have been dead on.
Pretty close. If I was to see that on like a shelf in a store somewhere, I probably wouldn't pick it up. It's not necessarily the most pleasing thing on the eye, but I mean, it's a tribute boot, so you couldn't really control the color, so it's not really your fault. So shame on you, Joma.
Yeah, it is what it is. So, anyways, I don't know. I don't know what is to come of this. I don't know if I'm gonna get, because I'm pretty sure Joma doesn't like me as well. So I'm now not in the good graces of two companies. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I really don't know what to say.
Nah. So where would you rate this out of your favorite boots?
Out of all the Nike IDs I've ever done, this is probably one of my favorites. And I would say most of the Nike IDs I've done have been a tribute to a past colorway or to a certain concept that I had in mind. I never just kind of randomly made colorways, but I quite like these.
And that happened.
Just based on how funny it is. Like if you like you said, if you just saw this on the shelf, you'd be like, it's an okay colorway, but it's not really the best. But if you know the backstory, it's hilarious.
Yes, I agree. And that is probably, if I'm completely honest, I think it's really, really ugly. But that's also part of the charm, right? That's part of the beautiful. It's like that shade of blue combined with Volt and black, it makes it look so, I'm sorry, man, but it looks so cheap.
So here's my plan. If I ever get invited to any Nike event at any point in time, which probably is never going to happen at this point, these are coming with me and I'm wearing them. I don't care.
Beautiful.
It's happening.
That's awesome. I like those. I would really, really love to have helped mine as well. I think yours is obviously the clear winner when it comes to storytelling. It's just you can't compete with that. There is the boot that has basically it's just such a unique thing with you and the Champion Max. I love that story. You making a tribute to the boot that basically stole the design from the Mercurial. It's just it's
excellent. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. But I think our plans, because obviously this Nike ID experience did not exactly go as planned.
No.
On whatever the next major release is on Nike ID, I say we do it again because I think this was fun. The viewers seem to really enjoy it. I had a good time. You had a good time until you didn't have a good time.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun designing it. I had a lot of fun with that. So I'm definitely down for that.
Yeah.
But maybe we can also get some suggestions on what kind of concept we should do next time. Maybe there should be some guidelines. So. Instead of just saying, oh, you can do whatever you want, maybe you have to make a tribute to an older boot or make the ugliest design you possibly can. In which case you would probably be winning with that.
That would be good. That would be I like that idea of trying to make the ugliest possible boot.
But you just have. How are you going to top that?
Oh, no, you could definitely make an uglier one.
Yeah, you can.
Totally possible.
Yeah.
But... All right.
That could be fun. That could be fun. I like that. I was just thinking before we move on to the questions, right? There has just been, the releases have started flowing in. So should we just quickly jump over some of the most recent releases from this week?
Let's do that. Absolutely.
So we had Phantom Fire that just launched. Obviously, two Phantom boots, the Venom and the Vision, which is one of the boots that I kind of love to hate. But I gotta say that the Vision this time around looks absolutely phenomenal.
It does look good.
It's a beautiful colorway. How they highlighted the little different stitches and the whole little pattern. Especially also on the lace cover here, covering the ghost lace. It just pops nicely and it looks classy in a really wild way. I like it.
Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan. Is the accent color bright mango?
It's the same as the Venom. So this bright mango that we also saw back in the day on the Vaporate and the Laser 4, obviously. And speaking of which, this is basically just like the Volt Venom, by the way, was also kind of I don't know if they did it on purpose, but it was kind of a throwback to the Laser 4 colorway in full Volt. And the same thing goes for this, I'd say. So
yeah, very similar to that. I like it. I think the Venom more so than the Vision looks really quite good. And I don't know, no complaints from me.
It's just one of those colors that you have to be good if you want to rock it. I mean, it's the closest thing you can get to the berry pink Merc SLs we had back in the day, where it's just such a, it just screams, come and kick me, guys. This one.
Yeah, for sure.
But I like it, and it's going to be fun to see. It's going to be worn by all the players who won their respective leagues last season. So we're going to talk Raheem Sterling, Robert Lewandowski, Kevin De Bruyne, Thiago, Matuidi, and so on and so on and so on.
You know what? I kind of like, just to comment on that, I like that Nike's doing that this year, and that, okay, it's not just a new colorway, everyone moves on. They kind of have a story or a reason for why certain pros are wearing certain colors, and you get to see, instead of everyone wearing the same colorway, you get 3 or 4 generations being worn at the same time.
Exactly.
Which I don't know. I think that's cool. I think it's better to have more variety out there rather than everyone wearing the same thing.
Exactly, because right now then you have the Neymar boots, you have the Dream Speed boots on CR7, Mbappe and Kerr. Now you have all the Phantom Fire boots on those guys who are also relatively big players that like that VIP treatment. And then you have the inline New Lights pack for everyone else. So there is a little bit of variety, and it's also a good point for Nike to just shift more boots, right? Just here's something that's also on pitch, go and buy it.
Yeah, well, none of this stuff is limited, right? You can still buy all of it, so it makes sense to have pro representation while it's still available, right?
Exactly. It's a brilliant strategy, and we've seen it before, but I just think right now they're really hitting the sweet spot of just diversifying as much as possible.
Yeah, good job with them.
Yeah. Then we have the Puma Future Baller launch, which I thought was interesting because I immediately thought of the Puma King Platinums. I don't know about you. Basically,
it's the same. It's the same colorway, right? I mean, there's nothing groundbreaking about black and silver with the chrome sole plate. The Baller collaboration, I'm not super familiar with them. I've heard of it before. I've seen a few things, but it's not a very common or popular thing in the US or Canada.
Right.
Matter.
It's a pretty big thing in Europe, at least in the football lifestyle community. They started back in, was it 2013, 14, where they really started gaining traction. And, a lot of the football YouTubers started wearing these leather backpacks that had that hexagonal shape of a classic football panel. That is kind of their, design thing. And then it's just, I think, exploded since then to be, it's kind of the connection between a luxury lifestyle and off the pitch football lifestyle colliding. And I think it's pretty nice. It's, it just looks good. And it's nice for these guys to get some recognition of being a proper lifestyle football luxury big brand now.
Yeah, it's cool. Puma seems to really embrace the collaboration with more fashion brands. Yeah, which is cool. I like to see that.
And also it's like it's a cool way for Puma to also bridge the gap between on-pitch performance and also really boost their lifestyle segment, because they are getting stronger and stronger. The sneaker game it is getting stronger, and there are the whole lifestyle segment of sportswear and leisurewear is that a word? Leisure,
yeah.
Leisure wear.
You know what? The Brits might say leisure, though. It seems like that's something they would say.
Okay.
I think me saying leisure they'd be like, you're not saying it right, bud.
Anyway, you guys know what I mean. It's just, I think it's a nice way to do that with Adidas having Originals, which is obviously super strong. Nike having Nike Sportswear, obviously equally super strong. Puma also, they're getting there, but this is a nice little, boost to that, doing a collaboration with Baller, getting the attention of that segment as well.
Yeah, just a funny story with Puma and the collaborations. It was several years ago now. I'm not sure if I was making YouTube videos at the time. I want to say that I was. But they did that collaboration with Hublot. And I can't remember the player that was the main face of it. Yeah, there was a player that was actually, one guy wore it. It was a striker at the time. Falcao, that's who it was. He was wearing them. They were black with like a silver accent, maybe some red in there as well. Beautiful. Really good looking boots. I had no idea what Hublot was. Never heard of it in my life. But I saw they had the pictures with the watch. I'm like, oh, it's a pretty cool watch. But I didn't understand why the boots were so expensive, because I think you had to buy them with a pack with the watch, right? So obviously being a boot nerd, I'm like, oh, I'd like to have that. Then I went and looked it up and I'm like, oh, I didn't know Hublot watches were that much money. I guess I will not be getting these boots.
Yeah. I mean, I would also really, it's a beautiful boot, by the way, that Hublot Evo Speed, but it's a little bit too expensive. I know a guy who has the boots, but I think he bought them off of a guy who wanted the watch. So that was a pretty sweet deal. I think he got him for a good price. It's a beautiful looking pair of boots. To have the watch, that would be a bit special. So if anyone is out there who want to like donate a Hublot boot and watch to the boot nerds, then
that'd be excellent. But wouldn't you be nervous? Like, I feel like I'd be so nervous wearing $100,000 watch on my wrist.
Yes.
Because I don't know, I don't wear watches a lot. I know you probably wear more watches than I do, but every time there was a phase, like maybe 7 years ago, when I was consistently wearing a watch, and I was consistently hitting my watch on the edge of doorways. Because it's just that you don't realize it when you're not wearing a watch that like you just cut that close. But I kept hitting it on things, and that was just a cheap watch. So I can't imagine having $100,000 Hublot on my wrist and just knocking it off of doors.
I think you'd quickly realize that your hand would go very close to your body, and you would start taking. Yeah, a lot
I feel like I would just walk around with my hand out like this constantly, just to avoid hitting it on things.
Imagine heading out, like going to a club wearing that big old, and it's because it's a big watch, and people being all over the place, spilling their drinks and beers, and no, that'd be terrible.
Yeah, no, it just would make me nervous the whole time.
But I like a good watch. I mean, you probably don't really give any.
I don't have any, currently have no watches. But yeah, wow. I'm not against the idea of watches. I'm just one of those people, like, I'll like be looking at a random magazine in some waiting room and I'll see a watch that I like, and then I look it up and it's always like minimum $20,000, and I'm like, okay, why? Just why? It's never something I can justify. And
I can hook you up. I can hook you up with guys who make decent watches. I'm just saying.
We'll figure something out.
But this is super duper sidetracking. We have to get on with the next part, which is the questions side of things. And if you have any questions, don't forget to leave them in the comment section right down below. But the questions we have chosen for today, Josh, are you ready? Joshua, are you ready?
I am ready.
David Cherney. Hey, Boot Nerds. I was a big fan of the Nike Magista Opus 1 and 2 after they changed the upper in terms of comfort and the soft padded touch on the ball from the Kanga Light upper. Is there a current model which provides a similar feel but with a more responsive feel to it? So basically a thinner version of what you got on the Magista Opus 1 and 2.
That is a tricky question.
Uh-huh.
I don't think anything from Nike. Actually, probably the current Tiempo would be the most similar to maybe like an Opus 1.
From Nike, yeah.
The Tiempo Legend 8 Elite.
I would probably say the Lotto Maestro 200s.
Yeah, they're in that. They're similar to that, right? Because you're kind of like, especially Opus 1, it's Kangalite, but it was more so mesh was the main sensation you got from that upper.
Exactly, yeah. And on the Maestros, you have that textile mesh sensation because it's so thin. It has that little bit of a spongy sensation to it. There is a little bit of the padding, but it's also not very thick and dampened. So maybe that would be a good boot to look at, and it's not very expensive either. So I mean, even if you don't like it, you're not gonna lose big time on it. That would probably be right now the closest thing I can think of out there.
Yeah, and then just shout out to Lotto making some sneaky good boots right now. Like, really, like everything I've tried from them in the last 6 months, I've been pretty impressed with.
Yeah, I mean, they rip off some brands here and there, but I mean, you win some, you lose some, right? But maybe also if you have a wide foot, you can also consider the Tequila V2s. Bless you. Yeah,
Tequila's not a terrible choice either. By the way, I just got to see the wide fit version in person for the first time.
Is it wide?
It is. The plate, the plate is the same, but they've increased the volume of the upper.
Okay.
And like I put it on expecting it to feel pretty similar. My foot was like swimming in that thing.
And I
couldn't believe how wide it was.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. I'd like to see that and especially try one on with my super skinny foot. So it must be. But I mean, if you take a jolter foot and just like, it would probably fit him like a glove.
Yeah, but it's properly wide. I was surprised.
You would hate it. Anyway, next question here is, hello, Jay and Josh. Do you think Mizuno Morelia Beta 2 is the best boot ever? Thank you. Let's make it a short answer.
No.
It's good, but it's not the best boot ever. So, Spoon Cape. I'm blind. I buy my boots always too small. I can't play with a boot that's even a little bit too big. I have a shoe size EU 42 2/3. In football boots, I just bought a Mercurial EU 41. So my man likes to go tight. And I know of a lot of people who do this. I just brought it up. It's not really a question. It's just more of a statement. But I thought we could kind of discuss the pros and cons of this. Because obviously, you get a very, very tight fit. Your foot really gets crammed into the boot and basically fills out every little, cavity of the boot. Every single millimeter of the inside of the boot is being filled out by your foot. So you feel everything on the ball, right? On the other hand, it's going to be super uncomfortable. And long term, if your toes are squeezed in too much, it might damage your bone structure simply. So.
Yeah. I mean, I was like that for a long, like through my teenage years and early adult years. That's what I did. And it wasn't until I was like 20, 22, 23 when I was like walking around and noticing that, hey, my toes are kind of maybe a little more curled than they should be for not being in a pair of boots. I'm going to stop doing this. But I mean, the best way to fix that, because it sounds like this guy wants to avoid doing this because I think he understands that he could potentially cause long-term damage to his feet. I mean, have your boots that are really tight, get a pair of extra boots that are maybe that little bit bigger, that are not going to be too big, by the way. You're not used to how they feel.
It's
and just
the right
slowly get used to it. That's all. Because I think it's difficult to just like, all right, I'm going to buy boots that are bigger and just immediately feel good. It's not going to happen. It's just going to take a little bit of time. But I think ultimately long term, you'll benefit from wearing the proper size rather than cramming your feet into a pair of boots.
I totally agree. There was this story about Ronaldo that in his younger days did the exact same thing, only he went down, I think it was 2 full sizes to really have that super, super sharp touch on the ball. And the doctors basically told him he should stop it because he was risking his career basically. So I think he stopped it. He's still playing, so I guess he did. But so it is a common thing for players to also look into all these things, and it is also up here in the mind that if you're used to the sensation and you feel good, then it's really hard to change, even though you might realize it's not the best thing in the world. Okay. So hey, Jungfrau, that was your name. That was beautiful. It means virgin in German, so thank you. And JayMike. Oops. Okay. My feet is a bit wide. My foot is a bit wide and slightly flat as well. I like the tight-fitting sensation of a speed boot, but I also like the soft and padded sensation of leather boots. Which speed boot will suit me the best? Do you guys think the Mizuno Morelia Neo 2 can provide me what I'm looking for, or should I go for the likes of the Puma King Platinum? And P.S. I should change my name from JayMike to JayNike.
JayNike. It's Nike.
Nike.
Can we? I don't know if we've addressed this on the podcast, but can we say it's? I know that the Brits especially really like to call it Nike, but Nike is actually an American company, and it is in fact pronounced Nike.
And it's named after the Greek goddess of, I think, sports. But that goddess is called Nike.
Yeah,
it's a name.
But Jay, you don't say bikey, so why do you say Nike? That's the number one comment about that correction on my channel that I get. Which, whatever, like if you're that angry that you have to go correct people on how to say names.
Speaking about brand pronunciations, some people out there say Puma and they say Adidas. And I'm also guilty of saying Adidas sometimes because I've just been used to it speaking English. But the right pronunciation is Puma and Adidas.
Yes. Okay. Can I address the Adidas thing?
Yes.
See, I just said it there, and how goofy did I sound? I feel, okay, I guess you don't understand this if you're in Europe, because in Europe, everyone says Adidas. If you say Adidas here in the US or Canada, people look at you like, what is wrong with that guy? Because everyone says Adidas. So you're just going to be like that guy who insists on saying, because I'm sure everyone's met that one person who insists on saying things a little bit different than everyone else and insists that he's right. And while Adidas, I realize, is the correct way of saying it, just to avoid being called out constantly by fellow Americans / Canadians, I would just rather avoid the abuse.
You do realize that I'm going to call you out every single time in the future then.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll live with that. I can totally live with that.
Well, we move on to the question here, which is that he likes the feel of a speed boot, tight-fitting sensation, but he also loves the feel of a leather boot. Should he go Morelia Neo 2 betas or Morelia Neo 2s simply just like that, or should he go with the Puma King Platinums or something in between? You could go.
Okay, so he described his foot as slightly flat and slightly wide. I think if you're slightly flat-footed like I am, automatically your foot's through the midfoot at least is going to end up just being a little bit wider, even if you don't necessarily have wide feet. So Puma King Platinum, I think, is a really solid choice.
Yes,
especially for the money. Like
agreed.
Value for money perspective is great.
You can also go Vapor 13 Techcraft because of the tongue. So it's going to be a little bit more, merciful on your flat foot because it's going to be able to allow the opening to stretch out a little more and actually open up the boot a little more. So it's going to be more comfortable for you compared to if you went into a fly-knit version of the Vapor where the opening is just like stretching out when you put it on. That could also be an option, but I mean, Puma King Platinum is a very, very solid shout.
Yeah, I think that's the better, like to wear over if it's your only pair of boots to wear for an entire season, I think King Platinum's probably better than the TechCraft Vapor.
Yes.
Neo 2 is a great boot. Personally, being slightly flat-footed, I find the midfoot to just be a little bit more snug than I'd like it to be.
Right.
But the Beta, with the slightly more forgiving kind of mesh-based synthetic that it has, definitely you can get away with that. Like my pick between Beta and Platinum would be Beta, but Platinum's also really good.
I would also go Beta, but I don't really know since I don't have a flat foot. I don't know exactly what it feels like, but yeah, Beta is also a good shout. But it's also very expensive, so that's also a thing. Right, next question here from Flan. Thoughts on Instagram retro boot sellers? They are the best way to get older boots nowadays, and yes, that is true unless you know who to buy from on eBay and stuff. There are a lot of these. If you're looking for Adidas boots, there are a lot of on the German eBay. There are a lot of these old like random sports retailers. And then when I say sports, I mean they sell everything, but they have all these like 2012, 13, 14 models at decent prices. But I agree that Instagram retro boot sellers are, they're growing. It's getting bigger and bigger. I'm just like, I try not to buy from them because they're really, really squeezing it. I mean, they're trying to take your they're just trying to take all your money. And I'm lucky because I know what the boots are worth and what I want to pay for them. And I don't want to overpay for no boots. So I'm not a fan.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's a relatively new phenomenon because people have realized that social media, especially like Instagram, it's a great platform to show off what you have if you're trying to sell it, right? But, and I get sent links, you probably same thing, all the time of like boots that I mentioned that I really wanted. And they're like, oh, hey, Josh, look at these. They're for sale, right? And like you said, I would say the vast majority of these reseller companies, they're charging a lot of money for what they have.
It is wildly expensive and completely overpriced. Now, there are some very good people out there. I like BW Boots a lot, just to shout him out. He's really doing some good stuff and also really working hard for the retro boot community. But I've just seen so many of other retro boot sellers out there that just, if they don't know that you also know, they really try to overcharge you, and I'm not into that. Again, I'm lucky that I know you probably the same, what you want to pay and what you should pay for a pair of boots, and you can wait it out and try to find it other, really great English there. You can try and find it in other places, but not everyone will have that luxury. So, yeah, I just don't like, making money off of really kind of, I'm not saying scamming people, but just not being 100% real. So
yeah, but you know what it is too, Jay? They're selling like a lot of these, because I think the retro boot thing has become popular with some of the pros now. And to a pro footballer to pay £400 for a pair of boots that are worth 200, they don't care.
No,
they're just going to pay it, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, it's like a lot of the sneaker resale sites too, right? Like there's tons of sneakers that I really like. Do I want to pay this crazy resale price for them? No, I'll just kind of wait. And if I ever come across a good deal, I get them then. So, I mean, I think it's good because it's probably easier than ever to like seek out some of these older boots and see that they are actually available, but they're also, you're paying for that ease of access basically.
Oh, so, you are. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my recommendation if you're after old boots is always check eBay, always know what you're buying, like have an understanding of like, this is what I'm looking for. This is what a fake might look like, because there's still lots of that happening as well. Yeah, just be an educated buyer, I guess.
I agree. And look, I'm not trying to hate on anyone selling retro boots on Instagram. I just don't like the whole reselling idea of getting a boot or a shoe or sneaker for that matter, and then charging wildly over what it should cost because you know some people are desperate to get it. I'm not a big fan of that concept, but fair play to all the guys out there doing it, and there are a lot of good guys in between as well. So yeah.
Yeah, but Jay, that's also because we're both hoarders.
Absolutely, man. Oh, don't even get me started on that. We move on to the next question from Brian Okazaki. If you're talking about snapback on sole plates, how would some of the old Predators compare when they had a sole plate dedicated to shooting, like the Predator X and the Addy Power? Rest in peace, Addy Power. Or even the Power Swerves. It's a great question. See, the thing is that the snapback, right, is let me get a boot that has good snapback. Oh, I can't show that one yet. Do you have?
I can't show that one yet.
You know, how?
You know, okay. I do have this one right here.
Yes, that's pretty nice.
Pretty good snapback.
And I definitely think that you know, why don't I just get an old Pred, Jay? Come on, think, man. Just talk for a little bit, Josh. I'll just get it.
So. Just to clarify on the old Pred snapback thing, it was the power spine at one point, and then it was the power pulse system. The intention for all of those was never about snapback. It was for weight transfer and or stiffening of the sole plate through the forefoot or adding weight. It was never about snapback. But I mean, I think it really depends on the model, right? I don't know about you, Jay, but my general impression of some of these old Preds is that the sole plates just felt really stiff, rather than kind of truly responsive to give you that snapback sensation, especially Pred X.
So the sole is very, very, like, the snap is good, but I only get it from the very tip of the boot, and that was going to be my point, is that the mid part of the forefoot is so stiff because it really tries to also prevent this motion from happening. So it doesn't want this motion from happening, which is funny because a few years after this came out, Puma, they actually released the Evo Power that really wanted this movement to happen. But that's a story for another day. Anyway, it's only really this bit of the boot that you can get to move. So, you know, yes, the snapback is very strong in that part, but also it doesn't really help me to bend my foot all the way. Look. It doesn't really help me bend my foot all the way for it to be a really effective snapback when you accelerate. And I think the same thing goes for the Addy Power. Let me take out the cardboard here. It's not as bad, but it doesn't flex the way that like a good snappy snapback would work on a speed boot, because it doesn't really follow the bend of the foot. So it's just going to be this stiff outsole that, yes, might have the snapback, but it's not going to feel as responsive, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it was a different mentality when designing football boots back then, which is back then 15 years. Addy Power is not a great example, but like Predator X and everything before Predator X, they really okay, let's go all in on a football boot design specifically for striking the ball. And everything else doesn't really matter, where nowadays you almost get company, aside from like the speed boots, which I think are very focused, because speed boots are so popular, I feel like there's this pressure with all the brands to, whenever they try to create something that's not a speed boot, they try to incorporate as many speed boot elements into the product as possible. So they end up with this more kind of well-rounded, does everything type design rather than something that's truly focused, which is why you could argue that there's less variety now than there once was, right? Like back then, like you had that Predator X, and then you had an F50 Addy Zero. Like, I don't think you could have more polar opposite football boots in terms of feel and just general experience, right?
And how awful was this, by the way?
You know what? It's awful in a lot of ways, but I also kind of liked it at the time. I don't know.
But you also like the T90 Laser 2s, my man.
Yeah, so. I'm weird. I've got a weird... I really liked these super hardcore, focused on striking the ball boots. Like I had them in the... Remember when they did the neon yellow with the black and red accents, the tribute to the Predator Accelerator?
Yeah.
Terrible looking, but I love them.
This is the worst Predator ever made. That's just a statement.
Yeah, it's the Predator that killed the Predator series.
Yeah, exactly. Do we have time for more questions? Yes,
let's do one more.
Let's do one more. So, Hijacker, guys, do you have any suggestions for top-end boots that look minimalistic on foot or not chunky? I'm a person who care about the looks and hate when boots look too big, even with the right size. Thank you, and go.
I think what he's referring to is like having these really ugly folds and bends and just excess material. And even if you have the right size, that can be the case. I think your issue is you need to find a pair of boots that fit you properly if you're trying to avoid that.
Yes. And then also, that, and then also look at the silhouette, because the silhouette is often what makes the boot look chunky. Does it have a... Let's just take this, because to me, the future is a little bit of a chunky looking boot. Obviously, it's because it has a lot of stuff going on the forefoot. It has a bit of a wide fit, but also there's just a lot of it. And it has a lot of, there's just volume to it, right? So what you need to look at is the silhouette, both when it's, of course, on shelf, but also when it's on your feet. Getting the right, as Josh said, getting the right size and the right fit for your foot to make it look natural and just like an extension of your foot, for me, is the key to having it look not chunky. I'm also really big on that, making it look as nimble as possible. For that, I'd probably look at some of the speed boots, because they're designed to be minimalistic. They're designed to be sleek and very tight on your foot. That's probably what'll work best for you.
Yeah, and just to clarify too, I think a lot of people misunderstand having a boot that actually fits you properly. Just because you have the right size and just because your foot can physically fit inside of the boot does not necessarily mean that it fits you properly or that it's the right pair of boots for you, right? So just understand, especially if you're ordering online, which is super common these days, if you get a pair of boots and you put them on and they fit you, but they don't necessarily feel the way that you were hoping for them to feel, then maybe that's a good sign that, hey, you should exchange them for something else that does fit you a little bit better.
Exactly. And there are so many options out there. So there's basically no excuse for not finding the right fit for you, especially if you're watching the Boot Nerds podcast, because, you can always ask us. And on that note, well, if you have any questions that you want us to answer, well, you can ask them in the comment section right down below. Do, of course, also not forget to go and subscribe to the Boot Nerds podcast if you haven't done so already by clicking the big black bubble in the middle of your screen. Also, turn on the little bell notifications button to get a little ding every time we release a video. Of course, if you want to see what Josh is doing over on his channel, it's usually pretty good, pretty funny. You can go and click the subscribe button right over there. If you want to see what we're up to at Unisport, go click the green bubble somewhere around myself. And then, of course, leave a like on the video if you had a good time. And with that said, I'll leave the last comment to Josh. I'm JayMike, and I approve this message.
I kind of hope Nike doesn't watch this episode.
Yeah, same. If you're watching, I want my boots.
Oh, and to the guy who has Jay's boots, I'd be willing to make a pretty strong offer. Just get in contact with me.
Later, guys.